Hello, my name is Bhavyashri. I want to talk about profiles concept for environment setup. So whenever we are developing an application, before releasing it to the production stage, we have to check whether it is performing all the tasks or not, and whether it is meeting the app requirements or not. So, and in order to do that one, under it is running, whether my application is running under all configurations or not. So we have to test that properly under each environment setup. So there are multiple environments are there in Spring Boot. So some of them are so there is local environment, and dev environment, and QA environment, and React environment, and also prod environment. So there are multiple environments in the Spring Boot application. So when we are developing an application, before releasing it to the production stage, we have to run our application in all these environments to validate the code and to test the code and to check whether it is running under all the configurations or not. So we have to do this one, and it will be possible using the concept called profiles. And for every environment there are specific configurations, and we have to check our code whether it is running under these configurations or not. So for local, there will be a local IP, and if it is running AMQ, and it is having AMQs and AMQ IP, and it is connecting with some Redis DB. So in this way there are some configurations for local environment. So these are the configurations for my local environment. Same way there are configurations for dev environment also, QA, UAT, and prod also. So for every environment there are specific configurations for that particular environment. So there is my Java code. So same Java code, whatever I have written in my application, that I want to run, that I want to check whether it is running properly under all configurations or not. So that's why I have to activate each profile while running the application. So here local means local environment will say it is the environment where a single developer will be there, and he only make the application, and he will test that application by using some unit testing, and it will be run in the local system or local host only. And dev environment, it is the environment where the set of developers will be there, multiple developers. That means maybe we can consider it as a team of developers where the instances are shared by each other. And when we are using microservices concept, at that time also in the microservices, whenever our project is using microservices topic also, at that time we will use dev environment to run the application. And here also some basic test will be happen, and QA is the for testers where the actual testing will be built here. And UAT means here the business users and clients will be there. So whenever they want to run the application in this environment, they will run the application. And prod is for live users, it is completely the production stage. So the live testing will be done by the users. So these are the environments, and for every environment there are specific configurations. So in Spring Boot application there is a dot property file, application dot property file. So this is application dot properties file. So it is presented by default. So under source main resources package there is one application dot properties file. So this is my application dot properties file. So instead of writing all the configurations in properties file, so whenever we want to use some constants or maybe some specific configurations, we'll write those configurations in application dot properties file. But instead of writing all the environment related configurations in a single application dot properties, when I want to run in particular environment, then I want to use those configurations. So what I'll do, instead of writing all those configurations into this file, I'll make separate dot properties file for every environment. So here I'll make application local dot properties file. So this is for local environment. In the same way, for dev environment, I'll create one more properties file for dev. So in this manner, I can create so many properties file for every environment, and whatever the configurations related to that environment, I'll mention in the corresponding properties file. So I can run my application in any one of the environment, then it will use those configurations, those particular corresponding configurations it will use. So here I have already created these properties files under the source main resources package. So these are the files that I have created. This will come by default. The Spring will give this property file by default. So these properties files I have created. Now whenever I run the application, Spring Boot by default consider the Spring profile only. So there are two types of profiles. One is Spring profile, and the other one is Maven profile. So there are two types of profiles. So whenever the Spring Boot application is running, it will follow the Spring profile by default. And so while the application is running, first of all it will check the pom.xml. While checking, it will see is there any profile is in activated state. So here in profiles tag, I am specifying environments. I am specifying all the environments under some profile tag. So here is the profile tag. So here it is closed. Under this, I am mentioning for every environment I am mentioning some ID, and here I am using some tag to activate that one. So by default, as of now, everything is in activated state. So if all the profiles or environments are having this activated tag, then Spring will not activate any profile. Spring will not understand to which profile it will has to activate, so it will activate the default profile. And here also, after reading this pom.xml, it will consider the application.properties. Here also I didn't mention to which profile it has to active, so it will look for the default profile to activate and to run in that environment. So if I build this one, So here, as I said, here it is taking the default profile because I haven't activated any of the profiles, so it is taking the default profile only. So if I want to activate any of the profile, as of now I want to activate local profile. So now I said that activate by default this local. So that means if no other profile is activated, so by default activate this local. I am specifying that one. Yes, by saying true under this local profile. So if I run this, even though if I am activating this one, it will not activate this profile and it will take the default profile only. Why? Because in application.properties there is no line to say that to activate that profile. So until and unless I haven't written that line, so it will activate the default profile only. So if I again build this one, so it is taking again the default profile only. So now I want to specify so which profile is in activate, so take that profile and run under that environment. So in order to say this one, here I have to mention spring dot profiles dot active, the same key value that I have to pass here. If I say this one, here this line is same as this tag. So whatever is there in this tag, same thing that I have to mention here, the spring profiles dot active. So if I build this one again, now it will take the local profile to activate. So now it is taking the local profile. So instead of writing every time this activation tag for every profile, I can use another technique. Here, whenever I am building the application, so if I activated this local, so in this place this value is replaced as local. Even though if I write local, then it will activate the local profile only. Now if I build this one, now it is taking the local profile only. We can mention profile name here, or we can activate by using the activation tag also. So instead of writing activation tag in every profile name, I can specify here also. So if I write div here, so it will activate the div profile. So now it is activating the div profile. Here I am activating any of the profile to use the configurations in that profile. So I want to know whether it is using the configurations or not. So to check that one, here I want to take one key value pair, some register key. So in div profile I have to write this one, or in div.properties file I have to write this one. So I have written the key value pair here. Now I want to use this configuration in my classes, so I'll write that one in my class. So I want to use it here. And if I use @value, then I can get the properties file values here. So here I have taken J. So whatever I have taken, that key I have to pass here. Then I will get the value and it will be initialized to this variable. So now I want to print that one. So if I want to see whether it is taken or not, whether that configuration is taken or not, so at the time of running the application, if I want to see, I can use some annotation, something called post construct. So if I use post construct, so whenever the application is running, at that time only, whatever the method, which method I have annotated this post construct, so that method will be called if I use this annotation. So I want to check whether that configuration file this configuration has taken properly or not. So that's why I'm writing this one. So now I'll run this one. So now while running the application, that method will be called, which is annotated with post construct. So now it is running under the profile div, and the whatever the log statement that I have written in that method, that is printed here. So register service implementation initialized with register key from application div properties. So it is saying that from application dot properties it has taken this configuration. So if I want to run under the UAT or any other environment, I can simply specify that profile name here, so something called UAT. So now my UAT file has to contain this key value pair, otherwise it will not retrieve that value. So I'll go to my UAT file. Now I'll save this one, and if I run this one again, now it is running under the UAT profile, and also it is giving the value from here. I haven't changed that one. First of all, I have to change this one here. So I'll run this again. now it is taking the value from UIT properties file only. So in the same way I can change the values here. So if I want to use QA, I'll go to QA file. Here I'll mention QA and I'll save this one. Now if I run that one again, so now it is taking the value from QA properties file. So in this way I can change the profile, but every time coming to form.xml and activating this one, or coming to application.properties and changing value here, it is not the best way, because we have to deploy our application or run the application in any environment at the runtime or maybe at the build time. So instead of doing something like this, here I will replace this one with the previous one only. And at runtime I want to specify the profile name, so that will be passed by using the Maven profile. So here I'll build this one. First of all I have to kill the process. So now I'll build this one. Clean package, and while building that one, while building the application, I can able to specify which environment I want to run the profile, in which environment I want to run the application. So there is a command while building the application, we will use clean package, but in addition to that one we can say space -p space what are the environment that I want to write. So if I write dev and if I run that one, now build successfully, and it is taking the dev one only. That means it is running under the profile of dev, it is running under the dev environment only. Even if I run this one now, so it will take the dev environment only. Okay, actually it is while running the Spring Boot application, I said that it will take the Spring profile. So Spring profile will be taken at the runtime. So here I am saying that at build time, if I want to specify the environment at build time, that means at the time that we are running the command of clean package, at the time if you mention the profile name, so that is called Maven profile. But for Spring profile we have to mention at the runtime, but at runtime we haven't mentioned any profile name, so it is taking the local, which is default here. Here I set that default, and in local properties there is no register key, so that's why it is showing an error. So if I write that one, and if I run this one, now while running that one, it will take the local profile only, because it is following the Spring profile, and Spring profile will be done at runtime, and at runtime we are not specifying, means in command line, when we want to run the application, we'll say clean Spring Boot colon run. So at that time, if you mention any profile name, so it will take that one, otherwise it will take the default one only. Here I am just directly running this one, so it will take the local one. So because of that one, it is taking the local profile, and here also it is taking local profile value only, that configuration only it is taking. So if I want to run the application in specific environment at build time, then I have to use the Maven profile, means while building the application. So here I will kill this process, and here if I want to run this one again, so while building this one, so if I write clean package p, so if I write, I'll write div, so build successful, and it is taking dev environment while build time. While building the application, if you want to mention any profile name, so that is called Maven profile. But if I want to mention while at runtime, then I have to use another command. So now I want to run the application. Clean Spring Boot colon run -d Spring Boot dot run dot, here I have to take one name, I think profiles equals to div, else I will take some other one, because I build on the div profile only. So I will take UAT and I will run. Now it is running on the UAT profile. So here I mentioned developer ID as Maven ID. So whatever that I have mentioned, so that ID I has to pass while building the profile. So if I am building this application, in addition to the clean package, if I run this one, it will run the application under div properties only. So while it is running, even though if I am not taking the div ID, here I am not mentioning here. So this Maven ID I am writing something like this, developer ID, not the previous one div. Even though if I am writing something called developer ID, it is running. Why? Because this developer ID that I have written here in form.xml, this is the ID. So whatever the ID that I have mentioned here, that ID only I have to pass while building the application. Otherwise it will not run on that environment. So if I give any random ID, for example, while running the application, so if I give clean package, something called random ID I'll say, and if I'll run that one, it will not consider that one because that random ID is not there in any profile. So it will build success because while building it will search for that particular properties file. Actually it is not there, and by default I said that if any profile is not in activated stage, that means while building I am saying that random ID, take the random ID. So in my profile stack there is no random ID. Here ID is local, and here developer ID, and here some QA, UAT. So these IDs are there, but that random ID is not there. So it will not recognize that one, and it will take the by default one. So here I am saying that take the by default one. If that ID is not there, so we can take the by default which is in activated stage. So that's why it is taking the local one. And here it is also saying couldn't detect a default configuration class. It is maybe of something else. Somewhere it will return that one. Here it is saying that the requested profile random ID couldn't be activated because it doesn't exist. So we have to mention the ID that which is there in my form.xml, which is there in the form.xml. So those ID only we can to give in the command while building the application. So in this way we can understand that Maven profile is for while building the application, and Spring profile is for while running or deploying the application. So while deploying the application we have to use this type of command, and we have to mention the profile name here. So that's it.